It's a rainy October day here in the Hudson Valley in New York, and we just had tornado weather a little bit earlier today. This is actually one of my favorite times of year where it's fairly cool, the leaves are turning, and they should be spectacular. And since it's October, that means that it's actually time for me to do my channel update for the month, where I talk about some of the things that I was doing or finding out about or considering during September, and then give some previews about what's coming up for this current month of October. As usual, I'm a little bit late. We're already in the hind end of the first week of October, but maybe with time we'll start catching up and doing these on the first of the month. So September, a lot of stuff going on in September. That's part of how I got behind. One of the things that's been taking up a lot of time has been preparation for class, because what I do with my classes that I teach from Marist is I use the course management system to create an entire online learning environment for my students, so that they're not just learning when they're in the class sessions or when they're reading on their own, but they've got a lot of lesson materials. I don't use actual textbooks. I create sort of like a virtual textbook with lesson sections on each reading that we do, each class session, prepping for that, and lots of resources which have to be curated and found on the net. I record the lecture videos, as you know, because you've probably seen some of them. Those have to go into the course management system. And then I do all the assignments, and I assign a lot of assignments, short writing pieces, at least weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, twice weekly, for my students. So there's a lot of maintenance that takes, and a lot of producing new material that eventually I'll probably turn into some website. I also create a lot of handouts. And since I'm usually teaching some new material each semester, for instance, the intro class is all new texts, all things that I haven't taught at Marist before. And the ethics is a few new things. I'm always adding some new handouts, and I upload those into my academia.edu site, so that they're publicly available for other people who'd like to use them as teaching documents. So that's been taking a lot of time. I've also been doing quite a bit with some online learning platforms that are not connected with Marist at all. They're not connected with any public or private universities or colleges, but these are sort of standalone, posing themselves as the future of education kind of sites. One of these is Learnist, and I have been developing what I call mini courses, where I have a few lecture videos and maybe some of the core concept videos, and then some handouts, some links to where they can find whatever text it is that I'm focused on. I've got some on Cicero and Plato and Bentham and Kant so far, where they can find these texts online. And then, links to encyclopedia articles or other good websites that talk about those. So I've been starting in September. I've been pretty good about this, trying to get one mini course put into Learnist each week, usually doing those on the weekends, because they take about a good 3-4 hours to put together. But then they're out there, and people who are lifelong learners can find them and progress through them at their own pace. I'm also going to be working with Curious. I now have access to the lesson builder. Curious is now going much more live than they were before. They used one of my older videos to create some lessons on Jean-Paul Sartre, and this month I'm going to start creating lessons on Plato, starting with the Apology, and then we'll see where we go from there. I don't want to necessarily tie my hands too much with saying I'm going to do exactly this, and this, but we're going to start with the Apology. And Curious is kind of cool, because what it does is it lets you upload the videos, and then you can have questions that a student has to answer, put in multiple choice form, and you can upload, handouts or other, lesson materials that you'd have with it. Some of them are going to be free. Some of them are going to be not free, charging a fairly minimal cost for access to the lesson. So I'm going to be, filming some new videos where I go a bit more into depth on for example, Plato's Apology, and tie it in with stuff. So it's a richer learning experience that it makes possible. I've also been talking with some other platforms about doing work with them. Some of what I've been doing is actually giving them advice about how they could situate themselves, because I'm involved with this sort of new world of online learning. That's distinct from the MOOC stuff over there. This is more for the people who are looking for more individuated and at their own pace kind of thing, not in some massive thing over there that's only the elite institutions, but this is a little bit more entrepreneurial. I kind of like this a bit more. So I'm looking at doing some work with them, but I don't think that's going to be I don't think I'm going to be doing a lot more stuff this month with them. Just probably with Curious and Learnist. What else? I've started blogging more actively again. I had let my blogs sort of just hang out there with lots of entries on. I have 4 main blogs at this point, which is in a lot of ways kind of excessive. I have Rexus de Noetique, which is the first blog that I started a long time ago. That's my main blog, and I realized that instead of just writing longer articles on it, I could also use it as sort of an updates blog as people get to know me and want to know what's going on with me. So I've been doing that with it, and I haven't put as many entries as I'd like, but I just published one today on Kant and violence and this incident that I shot a video on that I think everybody's familiar with by now, the 2 guys in Rostov-on-Don who got into a fist fight, one of whom shot the other one with rubber bullets over some matter in Kant interpretation. So I've been writing for Rexus de Noetique. I've been doing some things with the Sadler's Existentialism Updates, which is a blog that I'm using basically to house materials that I'm going to turn into some courses on existentialist thought, which will be available online for interested learners as I get the stuff moving. Virtue Ethics Digest, that I hadn't published anything in since March, which is for me kind of, I'm a bit of a not only a perfectionist, but a person who feels guilty about starting things and then not getting them all the way through. So it felt good to get a blog entry out on Virtue Ethics Digest this last week, and I started this new blog, Heavy Metal Philosopher, and I've been writing things in there. Not as frequently as I'd like, but every so often I've got 4 entries, and I'm working on a 5th and 6th entry right now. So that's kind of good. I enjoy blogging, and something that I started out doing before I was shooting any of these videos, and I want to get back into doing more of that. I'm also clearing more space for doing more strictly academic writing. I've been working on a paper for a conference that is coming up this month, and writing a bit of stuff here and there on other topics in Aristotle and Anselm for the book projects that I'm working on. Now, what else did I do? I had a talk at the Culinary Institute of America as part of their Feasting and Foraging Day, and I talked about symposia and how they started out as drinking parties and what we know about them and how they got to be the drier, duller academic affairs that we have today. And we actually, it wasn't quite a symposium, but we did at least get to have some hard apple cider during it, and it was kind of fun to do that out in the open. Had some good Q&A, and there's a video of it, which you may have seen by now. I went to a conference at Bard College, the Failing Fast, the Educated Citizen in Crisis Conference, which was pretty good, hosted by the Hannah Arendt Center. That stuff is all available online, so I don't really need to summarize it for you. I'm going to be writing a bit about one of the topics that kept coming up about privatization of education, and why I think that we need to be really careful in using that term because it means different things. I'll be writing about that in Orexis DNOETK this month. Videos. I have been shooting quite a few videos. Of course, I've been shooting them in my courses. The intro class, we finished up with Plato and moved into Aristotle. I shot through 3 videos on Aristotle, one on some topics in the metaphysics and 2 on the Nicomachean ethics. And I've been shooting some other videos in my ethics class. I shot one on Republic Book 9, full lecture video, and I have been shooting a few other the core concept videos, the shorter videos in my ethics classes. I've been posting a lot of Bentham ones lately since I shot a lot of Bentham footage. I got one more of the 10 shorts videos out, so that was good. And I shot a video on that contemporary event that involved philosophy with the guys who got into the fist fight about Kant, and that's a new series for me that I'm gonna start doing. So what's going on for October? What have I got coming up? I'm giving a paper this coming weekend at Fordham University in the Society for Ancient Greek Philosophy, which is coinciding with some other learned societies. I'm going to be talking, I'm not actually going to read the whole paper, which I have posted online in my academia.edu profile if you're interested in reading it. So it's a rough draft still at this point, needs a lot of secondary lit references that are germane to the topic, and there's a lot of Aristotle passages that I'm going to be also adding to it because he talks about the topics that I'm focused on throughout his work. And what are those topics? Anger, justice, and injustice. If you've looked at my Aristotle videos, you know that I'm working on a book on Aristotle and anger. And anger is particularly interesting because it ties in with our conceptions of justice and injustice in very complex ways for Aristotle. So that's what I'll be talking about there. And I'm hoping to meet up with a few colleagues and make some new contacts and perhaps make some new friends. Here's some good papers. I'm also chairing at least one of the panels, perhaps 2. When you're an academic, that's one of the duties that you have when you go to conferences quite often, especially as you get a bit older and more established. You chair panels in part to keep people on time, because otherwise people will just keep talking and talking. So the chair is the person who introduces everybody and then says, all right, you got 25 minutes, now you're done talking. Now we listen to this guy over here or this woman over here. So that's one thing coming up. Towards the very end of the month, I am doing a brown bag lunch with some students in Marist College's Medieval and Renaissance Studies program. And the topic that I'm going to be talking about is one that I've been doing research on for quite a while, namely the 7 deadly sins, which didn't start out as the 7 deadly sins. They started out as the 8 principal vices talked about by the monastic desert fathers. And then gradually, as they filter into the Middle Ages through Gregory the Great, his Moralia on Job, and some of the other interesting literature, they become the 7 deadly sins. And so the question is, well, how do we go from 8 to 7? Did we drop something out? And there's some interesting transformations along the way. I'm going to have to pack all that into about a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes tops talk, so that's going to be kind of a tall order to do. I might be doing some more radio shows. I don't know. The calendar is a little bit hazy at this point about that. If not in October, definitely in November. I'm going to be doing a lot more blogging. I'm trying to get back on track with doing some more of that kind of writing, which I very much enjoy, but which is fairly time consuming. My goal, and this is pretty ambitious, is to make sure that I write in Orexis DNOETK, Sadler's Existentialism Updates, Virtue Ethics Digest, and Heavy Metal Philosopher at least 2 times, 2 blog entries for each of those this coming month. I guess I can count the Erexis de Noetique one that I just finished on Kant and violence in there. But I want to get these back on track because I feel they're sort of like abandoned children in a way. I've been shooting so much video stuff that it takes me away from that. I'll be doing more courses on Learnist, like I said, and adding some lessons in Curious. And I'm exploring a few other things. People are contacting me now, I think largely in part because of these philosophy videos that I shoot, asking me if I want to be involved in other new projects which involve video conferencing or courses or little lessons here and there. So that's kind of nice. I'll be posting more and more course material as I develop them. For example, the handouts. I'm working on a handout right now on Epicurus on friendship, and after I get that finished, I've got to do some stuff on Aristotle and pleasures, Cicero on friendship, John Stuart Mill on various topics like, can utilitarianism actually admit of justice or talk about virtue? So lots of interesting stuff like that coming up. Now, as far as the videos go, strictly videos, YouTube stuff, what I want to do during this month is continue with the Shestov videos in the existentialism series. There's a lot to be said about this guy, Lev Shestov, and for the most part, I'm going to be working on stuff in his early works that might actually carry me through into November. I don't know. If I finish up with the Shestov early enough, then I may start shooting on Gabriel Marcel, or I might go back and start shooting some stuff on Rilke, or maybe shooting some more Nietzsche or Kierkegaard. I don't really know quite at this point. I'm sticking with the Shestov. I need to actually get finished with something I started a while back and then didn't see all the way through, and that's the videos on Aristotle's categories. That's a text that gets used in a lot of classes, and it's very confusing at first, and it is also very important for understanding Aristotle's metaphysics and his theory of language and how language connects up with reality and thought. So I want to plow through those and shoot those in our home studio. There's going to be a lot of new class videos coming up. In the intro class, we're going to be talking about Epicurus on love and friendship. We're going to be talking about Cicero, St. Augustine, and I think towards the end of the month we may also get to the love letters between Abelard and Eloise. I don't think we'll get to Thomas Aquinas. I think that's coming up in November. I'm not quite sure about exactly where the cutoffs are, where the dates are. So that's what's going on in the intro class. The ethics class, I'm going to be shooting more core concept videos and uploading them. I've got some Rand videos that need to come out, just a few of those, some more Bentham videos, core concept videos. We're going to have some Epictetus ones, some Ross, W.D. Ross, the guy, the right and the good. And then maybe some more Kant videos. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to do those. And I would like to get shot some more Aristotle core concept videos about the virtues and vices, because I've got a project that I want to do with those. So that's quite a bit. I don't know if I'm going to shoot any of the more, or put together any more of the 10 VU short videos this month. If I don't do that, it'll happen in November. I'm not sure if I'm going to do any more philosophy and contemporary events videos, although I'd really love to get into that. I don't know if I'm going to do any more philosophical, development stuff about, how I got into this guy or got into this guy, in part because I'm just making so many other videos at this time. So if I get any of that other stuff done, that's gravy, that's icing on the cake. But what I'm really going to be concentrating on this month is the existentialism Shestov videos, the Aristotle categories videos, the course videos from my intro class on love, friendship, and desire, and all those core concept videos that I just keep churning out. We passed the 75 mark this month for core concept videos, which is kind of cool. more than 75 short, focused videos on particular topics in philosophy. It's been a long road, and it's kind of cool to get that far. We passed, I think the 35 mark for the existentialism videos. There's about another 65 more of those to go. Yeah, there's a lot of cool milestones coming up. So that's what's going on in October, provided everything stays on track. You notice I'm not talking much about like my knee. Really, I should be doing physical therapy at this point, but I just wear this knee brace and get around, and it's okay. I really need to start spending a bit more time on the non-job, non-philosophy areas of my life, so I can get those sort of things on track, because there's really no excuse for not getting into the physical therapy that's going to be required for the surgery eventually down the line. I am able to get around fairly well. I don't have to, use a crutch anymore. It gets sore after a while. Weather changing actually weirdly affects it, but on the whole, things are pretty good. I would like to clear some more time and space for doing some pure pleasure reading, but I don't foresee that coming up in the month of October. The only other thing that is on the horizon that could be of interest, and I'll close with this, is if my wife and I actually follow through on a plan that she has about Halloween and Halloween costumes, I may be losing the beard. Because that would be required for the sort of costume that we'd be wearing. And I'll let you in on what it is. She wants to go as the Blues Brothers. I think it's a great idea, but there's no way I can there's no way I can have this. Fortunately, my beard grows back pretty quick after I do shave. It'll be a little weird if we do that, because I haven't cut this off. I've trimmed it, but I haven't cut it off for over a year. So you get kind of accustomed to it. So that's what's going on with me. That's the month of October. That's the summary of what took place in September. There you go. I'll try to put links for some of these things in case you're interested in them and you want to click on them. And I'll shoot another video like this in November.